native names. Mr. President, I am Senator Degi-Eremienyo. I represent Bayelsa East Senatorial District. This is a motion on the need to establish National Museum at the Akassa Slave Trade Centre in Bayelsa State to preserve national heritage. The Senate notes that Akassa is a settlement at the southernmost tip of Nigeria in Bayelsa State, where the Non-River estuary meets the Atlantic Ocean, with a lighthouse of 90 meters high navigational facility that had stood since 1910. Further notes that due to the proximity of Akassa to the Atlantic, the settlement has always been a traditional trading site in Nigeria, especially in the business of palm oil trade during the colonial era. Senate notes again that before the abolition of the slave trade, it was one of the major centers in the country where the harrowing effects of transatlantic slave trade resonates till this day. And during the British colonial years, it was the site of an outpost of the Royal Niger Company. Recalls that the Akassa settlement in the 17th century, now a sprouting town, was where the Nembe people in today's Bayelsa State waged a war valiantly against the British in 1895 with 22 war canoes and 1,500 foot soldiers, due to the high-handedness of the Royal Niger Company and the obnoxious taxes imposed on the local people by the company. Senate notes interestingly that in the year 1899, the charter of the Royal Niger Company was revoked, and an act seen as partly a consequence of the war, with the effect that from 1st January 1900, the company sold all its possessions and concessions in Africa to the British government for £865,000. Senate is aware that some of the relics of the slave trade, such as slave house, slave masters administrative block and quarters, slave jetty, slave transit tunnel, white men graveyard, and what have you, can still be found, even though erosion of past decades had eroded some of the antiquities. And Senate observes that with the current efforts made by the government to diversify our economy, the Akassa town is a veritable historical heritage center which will boost our tourism potentials and consequently earn us foreign exchange if its heritage is well preserved. Senate accordingly resolves to urge the National Commission for Museum and Monuments to recognize the Akassa Slave Trade Centre and establish it as a National Slave Trade Museum in Bayelsa State. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I thank you for this privilege.
Rightly said, we've been paying lip service to diversification of our economy, and this is one of the greatest opportunities we do have to attract tourists, to bring in hard dollars to our country. Mr. President, I do know that there are small countries around the world, including African countries, where simple monuments, simple historical sites attract foreigners all over the world to come and observe. We have wonderful places in Nigeria, and this is just one of them. I therefore urge us all, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, to support this motion so that we can make sure we have this site a place for foreigners to come and observe the beauty and what we have in our country. Thank you, Mr. President.